Oh, you goddamn right. You goddamn right. Because again, and we've talked about it. And I'm glad I waited because I said last week and I was going to come on here and we were definitely going to talk about it. I just didn't think that I'd be talking about it on this show. So what's going to happen is when I talk about this, I'm going to clip said conversation, and this is going to be a video all on itself.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
So we're definitely going to get into the MJF segment later on, but I'm going to talk about the bulk of it right now because here's the thing. And I did my due diligence over the course of the last few hours just to see if all the people that was talking shit about Max Caster and the whole, oh, well, if you're going to, yeah, a heel can be a heel, but there's a difference and all this other stuff. All right, cool. Y'all said that when that happened. Not one person, everybody who was sitting there talking that same shit didn't have that same energy in terms of MJF over the past 2 weeks. So now I ask you, when is it okay to be a heel and when is it not okay? Because you can't sit there and say Max Caster can't do this and this and this, but you can have MJF, granted, regardless of the fact that even if he had, the A-OK from Brian Pillman Sr.'s family to say XYZ, you're telling me that there's somebody in the world that didn't feel some type of way? You telling me that nobody, because I mean, I'm somebody who lost a parent. You telling me that maybe that stuff triggered me? I'm like, you know what? Maybe if that was me, I would feel some type of way. Granted, I'm not that type of person. I could care less. I give two shits. But here's the thing: if you're gonna have an energy towards one thing, you better be damn sure you keep that same energy in terms of something else. Because here's the thing: I don't give a shit if Scoot has an issue with something. I don't care if Jaeger has an issue with something. If they say something and they believe in that, whether I disagree or not, I'm not finna stop them from saying that because I don't give a shit what happens to this fucking channel because at the end of the day, everybody on this squad stands by their goddamn morals. So I don't care about any fucking agenda. I don't give a shit who caters to what. I don't work for anybody. These two don't work for anybody. So if you come to me and you say, oh, Scoot said this and this and this, okay, I said, well, did he mean it? Is that something that he felt? If somebody says, oh, well, Jaeger said this and, that's my girl and all this other stuff, I'm like, okay, well, did you get a disclaimer? Did Jaeger say that? Did he believe in it? Did he believe what he was going to say?
Did you tell your girlfriend not to respond to me? Like, hey.
Regardless of the fact, I know that we can.
You know what?
Go ahead, Scoot.
Yeah. I said, but you know what? I did mention a few weeks back when I said, I wonder, is it because Max Caster and the fact that he was rapping compared to the fact that when heels talk? I did mention that, but I'm starting to think it might be a little bit more than that because kind of like what you said, I did my due diligence too. I went back and heard that Max Caster rap that got him in trouble. Mm-hmm. And once again, that pales in nothing compared to what MJF said last week and this week.
No. Mm-hmm. You know what? Not even. Go ahead. I was gonna say not even the fucking Julia Hart Eiffel Tower shit compares to what the fuck MJF has been saying.
True. Now,
and
let me go ahead and preface this.
I'm saying a joke, but I'll get into it.
Oh no, you're perfectly. You say whatever the fuck you want to say. I'm not stopping you.
All right. Well, I mean, for a Jewish kid, MJF is doing a lot of roasting.
Right. Now, see, here's the thing. Now, before anybody gets up in arms and say, "Oh, well, you mad?" I'm not mad at MJF. I think he's doing fantastic heel work because again, I grew up in the truest. Well, I can't say the truest, but one of the truest kayfabe eras. There are times before then where kayfabe was fucking kayfabe. But here's the thing: everybody is in on it. Everybody knows that, you know, kayfabe is kayfabe, and there are certain things that are not real. And I go back to the last statement that I fucking made when I talked about this shit previously. It's people playing a fucking character. Now, you can't sit here and have, okay, yeah, you can believe, oh, MJF, he believes in kayfabe. That's why we follow behind that. Okay, who's to say Max Caster doesn't do the same thing? You don't know that, because, and this is where I'll disagree with Scoot just a little bit, because Scoot had when we talked about the Becky and Bianca thing, where race could play a thing, but I don't even think it's a race thing. I think it's a positional privilege thing. Because
So I'll say this: I don't necessarily think it's a race thing, because because in this case, Max Caster could have been Max Caster could have been fucking Frankie Kazarian or whatever at this point. You're 1000% correct. This is a position thing. It's not a race thing. I don't know. Like I said, it still could be compared to a rap, compared to regular promo, but 1000%, this is definitely a position thing. And I was even going to preface it with the whole fact that even because, like, I even listened to a compilation of Max Caster's raps that he does, the stuff that he does on Dark, and the stuff that he, like, somebody compiled just like different compilations. And out of everything he said, the worst thing he truly said was when he was referencing Moxley's wife, Renee. That's the worst thing he really said. And then, of course, that's when Bowens was like, well, we talking about the podcast. She wants us on the podcast, you know.
Yeah.
But for him to reference the whole Duke Lacrosse thing, which everybody had to research what that even meant. Everybody had to research that. But then, you know what? To even bring up something, this is the same thing Jim Cornette had went through when he said that little joke he said that basically caused him to leave NWA. He said, and I think this is also another thing that happened. Whoever, because that was on what, Dark, right? Jaeger or Elevation when he did rap.
Duke Lacrosse?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on Elevation.
I think this is also a touch of the wrong people might have heard this and made a big deal of it as well.
Well, that's what I always keep mentioning.
And this is what I always keep mentioning with whole cancel culture and stuff like this. I'm pretty sure Tony Khan was pressured by people who probably never watched a fucking wrestling match.
Yeah.
And then here it is, they hear this kid rapping and they hear him referencing this and everything. But then you telling me these same people who was bulldogging and fine-tooth combing had nothing to say about MJF?
Because they don't watch the product. Like I said, man, I'm taking it a step further, but I'm pretty sure that it's people that have some kind of ties to Duke or something, that are friends with Tony Khan or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Like you said, people that have never watched a wrestling match but know Tony Khan as a friend or something, and are just like, hey, man, the fuck? You letting this shit slide?
You telling me now? I have not heard not one individual say anything about MJF's last two promos. Not one.
Yeah. Nobody coming out being like, oh, well, I'm a recovering addict, so I take offense of them, you know, making light of somebody's drug addiction. You know, none of that. No, nothing at all. Not to mention, even if we go back to, again, MJF being a fantastic fucking heel. Go back to the Brody Lee show, the tribute show. He gave -1 the finger.
He gave a kid. Well, that's not the first time he gave a kid a finger.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but we're talking about a kid on his father's show, paying tribute to a father he just lost, and it's like, Now, granted, Brody Jr., of course, perfectly fine. He's part of the business. So he's somebody who understands. But at the end of the day, again, you have to keep that same fucking energy. And that goes to everybody in this fucking community. And you know what? I'm not saying this to everybody because there's other people that actually have basically sided with have the same viewpoint as we do. Not thinking it's a fucking big deal that a fucking heel is being a fucking heel and doing whatever they can within the realm of reason to fucking get heat. Nobody's saying that MJF is doing, is crossing the line. He's doing some things that pushed on a little bit, but he's not doing he's not putting his hands on a kid. Yeah, give a kid the finger. Okay, whatever. Cursing in front of a kid. Doing everything he can to verbally abuse somebody. But he's not physically harming anybody. He's not putting anybody in a position that's making them go home like, you know what? No, I need to off myself. Like, stop it. Now, the worst thing that's going to happen is somebody's may take offense and attack MJF. That's the worst that's going to happen. But it's something that he signed up for. That's his thing to bear and deal with because that's his consequence for that. Max Caster, the same thing. He referenced something and everybody got up in arms. He talked about Julia Hart, somebody who's also playing a fucking character. That's who he directly
But nobody was
offended.
Pissed at what he said to Julia Hart.
Exactly my point. Everybody was mad at a fucking reference. When he didn't say shit. He didn't say shit derogatory towards Simone Biles. He didn't say anything derogatory towards anybody involved in the Duke Lacrosse thing. He used those as a reference.
I saw one of the comments because one of the pages who posted that rap from Dark, one of the comments had said, "I am a person who kind of struggles with mental health," and I thought that line was kind of funny.
Thank you.
Most of the comments under that person's video, most of the comments were saying he did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. And then one of the comments was even funny because he was like, with the Duke Lacrosse and the PCR test, he was saying, was he accusing the Varsity Blondes of doing that to them? Because that would be a weird storyline change. But he said nothing wrong.
Not at all.
No.
But for Tony Khan to come out and be like, hey, I usually check all his raps, and this one just so-called got past me. Tony Khan did everything to throw that man smooth under the bus.
Yeah, and that was my only issue with Tony Khan at that moment was the way that he kind of played that out. Because normally Tony Khan normally like he'll take responsibility for something and just be like, hey, it's on me. If something happens, I take full responsibility for that.
And once again,
now granted,
okay.
No, I'm saying. He kind of took responsibility in his own way, but he still did it in a way that still kind of put Max Caster in the wrong or somebody else in the wrong. I know what he was trying to say, but it came off differently, and that was my problem. Now, granted, Max Caster's back, so good. That was the right call, but still, it shouldn't have gone that far anyway. And that could have been to save Max. That could have been to take the heat off of him from whoever was in Khan's ear, Tony Khan, in that regard. But yeah, that's just my main issue with the whole situation. But I just
I'm waiting. I've been literally waiting these past 2 weeks to hear anybody be like, do y'all think MJF is taking it just a tad bit too far?
I mean, I don't. There are definitely times, and we'll get into it. There are definitely times where I'm like, oof, man. But I always go back to the whole, look, this motherfucker is getting heat. He's making sure that he is heavily disliked. And I can't be mad at it. Now, I'm sure there'll probably be something where I'm just like, yo, even that was a little too far even from my liking. But that day hasn't come. and we may just have a lot tougher skin than other people. But as of right now, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right, because I'm in the same boat with you. But at the same time, you motherfuckers out there, and I ain't talking to all of y'all, but you motherfuckers out there need to keep the same energy. You can't have heat for one situation, but not for the other.
I heavily third that sentiment. You gotta, if you're getting mad at Caster for this, you should definitely be blowing up Twitter, Tony Khan's emails, something over MJF and his shit, because he doubled down on the methany thing.
Yeah.
And even my situation with this whole thing is and this is one thing I hate. I hate the case of the whole everybody riding away, because one person complains and it's an uproar, then everybody who's a part of the fucking community that wants to rah for the same shit will sit there and all of a sudden have a gripe with it. And that's who my gripe is against. So for those of you, if you are somebody who's watching this video and you follow those people, please do me the biggest favor and tell them. Matter of fact, tag this whole fucking video. No pun intended. Tag this whole fucking video and let them know. I want fucking answers. I want answers from everybody who had something to say about Max Caster shit and won't say the same thing about MJF. That's not going to sit here and double back and say, oh, well, Hill's being a Hill. No, I want to hear the reason why you don't have that same energy for both. That's what I want.
Max Caster and Anthony Bones are heels. All right. So what's your next excuse, please?
But no, here's the even more fucked up part about it, right? Caster and Bones was on YouTube. This is on national TV.
1.1 million.
Yep.
So you had to personally seek Caster's part out. MJF, you could turn right to TNT and be like, oh, okay, this is being said.
And that's a fantastic point, Scoot. Fantastic point. I'll leave it. I'll leave it at this. To everybody who we're referring to, you know who you are, because you know if you didn't keep that same energy. Don't worry. We'll wait.